Hi everybody, Marie here from Skeins, and this week I thought I would talk about a couple of new things. One was something that came up from the inquiries over the weekend, and it's a topic that crops up often amongst the forums if you're spending time on knit or yarn forums, and it's often seen in Ravelry, and that is the issue of pilling. We all work on our beautiful hand knitted, hand crocheted or hand woven items, and then of course what will end up happening is that the yarn will pill. And let's face it, we don't really want to have the yarn pill. We hate it when that happens, and I get asked so often, why does it pill, or is there such a thing as a pill-free yarn? So I thought I'd sort of talk about some of those questions today, and about why it is a yarn that pills, how you can actually avoid that, and some of the things that you can do to actually make it better. So what pilling actually is it is a gathering up of fine or loose fibres from the fabric, whether it be a woolen fabric, a knitted fabric, a cotton fabric, whatever fabric you may have, and it creates those little annoying fluffy pills. And you get it on sweatshirting materials, jersey materials, lots of different types of fabrics. Now over the years, as with a lot more use of synthetic fabrics, and then in woolen scenarios, and like for merinos would be a great example, those machine washable merinos that we get from layers for ourselves, what you do get is that they stay quite smooth. Now with hand knitting yarns, we are a worsted spun process, so what we do, that means that we create fibres, all the fibres line up into a lovely beautiful sliver, and then we take those lovely fibres that are lined up and then we spin them to create a yarn. Now one of the rules of thumb in terms of pilling is that generally if a fibre can escape, then it will have the potential with friction to create a pill, or to create those nasty little bumps. Now there are two main elements that will create that. One is the amount of twist that you put into the fibre to lock it in there, lock it in the yarn. So a single woven yarn, for example, will pill more readily than a plied yarn, or the actual thickness of the fibres themselves. So a yarn that is made from a good old standard New Zealand crossbred, so this would be an example of that, our Southlander yarn, is made from a yarn that is around 30 microns, and when you're accounting a fibre, wool fibre, especially in microns, the higher the number, the coarser the yarn, the smaller the number, the finer the yarn. So this one's around 30, and this yarn, honestly, you make anything with this and it will look fantastic. It doesn't pill particularly much, and if it does, you literally just pick them off because they pill so infrequently. And you can knit a garment in this Southlander yarn, for example, and I've done this for both myself and my children, my father, and I've knitted garments in this that 15 years ago, and they still look like they came off the needles yesterday. So yarns that would fall into that category, Southlander vintage. At the opposite end of the scale, you have our finer yarns, and these are yarns that are around sort of between 18 and 20 microns. So in that category is silver lining. White gum wool is another one that is like that, and also too yarns, even our finer shrink treated yarns like Merino soft is at 22 microns, so they're much, much finer yarns. So here's the downside. Yarns like this, very rustic outerwear, wouldn't necessarily wear it near your skin, and particularly not for kids. Yarns, however, like silver lining, like this, super, super soft. You just want to, love it, unctuous, gorgeous. But the fibres are very, very fine. So that means they are more prone to escape. So the question I got over the weekend was, if someone had knitted something for a child in silver lining, and they were really frustrated because they found that it had pilled. And they knitted it in silver lining because they wanted it to be soft and something that the child would tolerate. But at the end of the day, kids, they run around and they are full noise, really full noise. So Karen, who works here, one of our team downstairs, she knitted a garment last year for one of the grandies that she has, and she bought it in because she's got, I mean, this garment is really well loved, an absolute favourite of this child. They adore it. Mum looks after it, hand washes it, but this kid moves, really active. So she brought this in this morning, and I don't want you to freak out and think, oh my gosh, that yarn is awful, because this is, I mean, they love this garment. The child loves this garment, and they will do anything to keep it tip-top for the kid because it just works. It's perfect for them. So she brought it in this morning. I mean, in a way, we were talking about it, it almost actually looks like a yarn feature, you know, a shaggy yarn feature. But look, now these are pretty extreme. I mean, she hasn't done any treatment on this. She actually brought it into a mum to de-pill it for her. So, but these are fairly big. Now, most often, you're actually, you know, I get mine to this sort of stage before I do something about it. That's just me. But look at that. Fuzzy Wuzzy was here. And you'd think, that yarn, it's awful. No, it's not. It's quite normal. Now, to be fair, Karen did say the little one that wears this is super active on a farm, going for it all the time. So, fair enough. 5 minutes with one of the de-pillers I'm going to talk about in a minute. And look at that. Can you see that? And you think, how'd that happen? And it's quite simple. I've talked about blogs before about de-pilling. There's a blog from 2015 if you go to the Yarn Kitchen at blogspot.com there. And we talked about this little bloke here, which is, I get this one from Briscoe's. If you wait until they're around, I think they're about, they were $20 then. I think last time I looked, they were around 22. If you do what I do, why pay full price? Wait for a sale. Then you can pick one of these up really reasonably. It runs on a pair of AA batteries, and literally you just run it over the top. This guy is fantastic for the really big mother jumpery pills like this. And honestly, just literally, and that's what we've used on here, literally shaves it right on. Now, what you can do is, to be honest with you, I wait, like if you've got little baby garments and stuff, you do get these little fluffles there, and you can even do it more than that. We've got these little guys here, and they're just brilliant. They're nice and small, compact. You can stick it in your knitting bag. And seriously, look at that. Super, 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 super quick. Done. Easy. Now, both of these guys, these are $20 on our website. As I said, this is around the same price from Briscoe's. These are both shavers. They do have blades in there. I've been using both of these for years, and in fact, I quite often on a Sunday will get together and pull out all my woolies and before the season do a big de-pill session. And I've got a couple of jumpers, one knitted in silver lining and another knitted in a very fine merino cashmere yarn. That does literally, probably I'll wear it twice, and then underneath the arms and across the back of the base of the back, which is where I get my pilling, I will just give it a quick little zhuzh up to have it looking 100%. And seriously, it only takes moments. Like, because I do that on mine, takes no time at all. So what I was saying to you is, don't treat pilling as something really bad. Pilling is a sign that the yarn that you have is a really, really good quality. It's a sign that it's made from really good quality fibre. If you really desperately hate pilling and you want to try and knit something that is soft from a fine fibre but prevent pilling as much as possible, then look at your gauge. So one of the things I'll definitely say is it's really tempting with these super, super fine merinos to actually knit them beyond the gauge that's recommended. So in this case, it's a 22 stitch tension. If you knit it bigger than that, so 20, 18 stitches, everything's got more room to move. and create friction, so more likely to pill. If you're in Scandinavia, they'll actually knit that to a 24 stitch tension as standard. So tension is engage is another thing to watch out for. But honestly, just be vigilant. Grab yourself one of these and go for it. If you don't like the idea of cutting the pills off your yarn, the other option is a thing called a sweater stone, which I've also got one of those. They work very, very well on yarns that are not shrink treated. So yarns actually, sweater stone, honestly, would on really big pills like this, and it looks a bit like a sanding block, but it's actually like a synthetic pumice. And honestly, if you just did a gentle brush over with a sweater stone, all these large pills there would literally, it's as if you were plucking them by hand, and it would just literally pop all of those big ones off like that. And it's just much easier than doing it with a finger and thumb. Those sweater stones, we don't have those available, but you can definitely get them in New Zealand, and Vintage Pearls, vintagepearls.co.nz, Morag, she sells those, and again I think they're around $20 each, so we'll just less than that. So don't panic if your yarn pills, quite normal. As you wear and depill more often, it will become less frequent. That is another good tip. And also to, as I said, watch your gauge, make sure you keep things tight. And yeah, just treat pilling as just another natural cycle of any woolen garment. If you absolutely detest pilling, you do not want to have any pilling whatsoever, then look at yarns that are, vintage pills a little less frequently, Southlander. And if you really, 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 really hate it, take it to your mum's. Get your mum to depill it for you, because honestly it's not that tough, and in fact I find it really therapeutic. I quite enjoy it. In fact, the girls have been having a great time down there depilling away today. Okay, enough about pilling. I'm moving around. I'm not wearing bright colours today, and I'm looking at myself thinking I'm a bit washed out, so I'm going to have to remember that for next time. So right, depilling. If you have any questions about depilling, ask them in the comments, and we can get on to them, but just demystifying that for you. On to some really good stuff though, new stuff, Waterlilies. We've got a new, sort of an extension to the Merino soft range. If you're looking to do some knitting for some new babies that have been born coming into the spring, or some Christmas gifts that you're wanting to buy for, we've been wanting to get this, this has been on the board for a wee while, and finally got them through today. So the three colours, we've done them, we've had to do a bit of product development fiddly-woolly on the with our printing to be able to do this. And what we've gone and done is we've gone and taken, you're going to laugh when you see what I've done here, we've gone and taken our Merino soft, and this is a new batch, which is super, really super soft, 22 microns, stunning. And what we've gone and done is we've just gone and put a series, it's on the ivory base, of very, very subtle spots. And you can probably just see little hints of colour there. There's another one there. See that? Just the tiniest, wafer thin hints, the merest hints of colour. So I jumped down onto the Bulky 8, which is our, it's actually set as a DK knitting machine downstairs, but just to give you an idea, so I've just popped one of the colours there. There you go. Can you see that? So what it gives you is these series of very, very subtle spots and dashes onto the yarn. So it's a bit kind of like a very subtle speckle, as it were. And as you can see, I mean, that's just a quick little panel that I've done. They are quite random. Okay. Now, to be fair, I haven't knitted this in the round, but they are, we played around with it to try and get it so it won't pattern for you, that it is quite random. And they're just really lovely subtle colours. The colours have been inspired by the Impressionists from the 19th century. So we've got one called Degas, which is this one here that I'm holding up. So that's inspired by that sort of Parisian style colours there. This one here is called Monet, and that literally is, and as by the name of Waterlilies, inspired by the Waterlilies, and actually his Riverside, Sainside Impressionist paintings. And then the third one is called Renoir, And this one's just a little bit moodier because he seemed a little bit more, you know, moody than the other two. And they just, yeah, they work beautifully. So, I mean, we've done them specifically with newborns and babies in mind, that you'd want to knit them, you know, they are very, very soft, absolutely perfect. So they're just something a little bit more, with a little bit more interest than just ivory or cream. But also too, because the spots are very subtle, and with the exception of the Monet, which is sort of baby pink, baby mint, and a little hint of yellow, the other two are actually quite contemporary shades. So this one is sort of a dusky purple and turquoise, and this one here is sort of very grown up mushroomy blues and taupes and things like that. So that's great for boys. That's great for either or, and then that's pretty nice for girls. But you could actually wear them, like it's subtle enough that you could actually do them into a larger scale garment, blanket, or even adult sized garment. So these are live now. So they're called Waterlilies. I've given them their own category, but I've also added them into Merino Soft too. They are slightly more expensive. They are at the moment $6.95, and that's just purely because we have to double pass. There's a bit more handling involved to get this dye effect, so it's just a little bit more expensive production involved there. But they, again, for a premium New Zealand made high quality merino yarn, we're still one of the best value out there. So these are available now, so that's great news. Also on the Book of Face earlier in Instagram, also over the weekend, you may have noticed I popped up just a picture of what was sitting on my desk at the time. When I actually said it was sitting on my desk, I meant it was lying around on my desk. So we have got, I'm just going to run through this. We've got a new silver lining Lumiere range, which is this bloke here. And what this is basically the finer version. It's a 3-ply, 4-ply fingerling weight version of silver lining, and we've had lots of requests for this, for people wanting to knit shawls, for wanting to knit wraps, for wanting to knit really fine scarves, finer weight garments for hotter climates. So these have just started to sneak through. So this is one of the new colours here called Mr. Grey, and it is a proper mid-heathered grey. Look at that. So that's our Clifton Stone, which is also coming in Lumiere. And this is now back in stock, our regular Clifton Stone. And then that, as you can see, is the Mr. Grey. It is quite a bit greyer as opposed to a yellow grey. This is very much blue grey. So that is one of the new colours. One of the other new colours which I just adore is this one here called Old Rose. And it's, I mean, this camera doesn't actually do it justice, but it's this very soft, subtle pink. And this is basically sort of a heathered, there you go, a heathered version of this nude blush top that I'm wearing. Absolutely beautiful colour, will go with everything. Also in that collection, 5 Mile Bush, which is the one that's been up on the website now, and then the other one in the softer collection is Greenstone, which is here. So the reason why I have the bucket of all of this up here is these are the 3 new shades here. But the beautiful thing about these new soft shades is that they marry up with their deeper counterparts, which will be also available. So that was Ahuriri Green, and then you've got Korokipo Rose, and this Mr. Grey works really well. It will also have a DK version. The other nice thing is Silver Moody Hues, which is also a heathered yarn, so off a coloured base. So then you're able to do things like this. So if you're doing colour work, there's lots of tonal find your fade type patterns around. These are all tonal shades, so they will all work together. So we've got a tonal in the pink, we've got a tonal in the green, and a tonal in the grey. Now, not all of these are up yet. I'm just waiting for the last stock to filter through, and I'm going to put them all up at the same time. So I will let you know when that is going to happen, but it is not far away, I promise. And with any luck, it could even be as early as this time next week. So that's something to look out for. And just before I disappear, you may have also noticed on Thursday, whipped out a wee note. We're having to, this is the time of year that we do a lot of our planning. And so we get together sort of at the end of the winter season, heading through the spring season. We look at our product development boards, we see what we've got done this year, what we're going to do next year, where the markets are at, and all of those sorts of things. And one of the things that we do is that we have to make those really tough decisions of what stays and what goes. And it was with a really heavy heart that we have made the decision to discontinue Texas, which has been perennial favourite in the range now 6-7 years. Absolutely loved it. Wool alpaca blend, single roving. So many of you have done garments with this, or blankets or homewares, and it has been very, very well loved. And unfortunately, it's basically a situation where the raw material costs, particularly both the alpaca, especially the alpaca component in this, has gone up to a point where we can't maintain a price point that we think that you guys want to pay for this. And it was basically a decision between a significant price increase, very significant price increase, or discontinuing and then developing something else. So we've decided to discontinue it. So the very last batch of this, which was done at the old price, is now available. So we have reasonable stocks now, but if you're wanting to get some Texas, particularly to make like blanket lots, you need to get in now. The dyed shades, once the dyed shades have gone, that's it. The last remaining wool stock that I have is all going to go out in the white, which is the most popular shade. So stock up now. Texas, and the same to be said with Limbo. See, look at this. I mean, goes with what I've got on. I mean, this was a cow. This cow, seriously, is very Outlander. If you watch Outlander, there's lots of these sorts of things. This takes one hank, best Christmas present ever. 20, I think it's 20 stitches, 20mm needle, boom, one hank, join it up, done. So make sure you grab this as well. This is the amaranth, but the rest of it, they are going. So it's all going. We do have a chunky yarn that is coming out next year, so don't worry if you're a lover of big yarns, and we've also got another couple of little chunkies that we're doing as some one-offs, but both of those yarns will not be replaced. So if you want to get them, make sure you get them now. The other thing, as you heard me mention, is the fact that a lot of the raw materials have gone up, and they have been creeping up all year. Wool prices, particularly fine wool prices, and we purchase predominantly fine wool to make hand knitting yarns, has gone up. Merino somewhere in the vicinity of 20%, Polworth has rocketed up nearly 30%, and alpaca is averaging around 25%. So what we're doing is, unfortunately, we've been carrying a lot of these costs most of the year, and we're getting to the end of the batches that were produced with fibre purchased at the old price, and all the new batches coming through have had fibre with those new prices increases in. So most of those price increases on the fibre is averaging around 20%. So there will be a price increase on the 1st of December for most of our yarns. It does exclude some yarns, so Perrindale is excluded, for example, so that will stay the same. There's one or two others. The rest of them, there'll be incremental price increases. They're moving by about 50 cents to $1 a ball. We hate having to do it, but we've basically had to. We've sat on it for a while. So it works out at around overall a 10% increase. So it's less than the cost. So we're still bearing some of that cost. The good news is that we are not going to put a price increase at this stage on naked skeins. We've been ahead of the curve in terms of getting production of those yarns through. So the yarns that we have currently sitting at stock at the moment that will see us through for the next little bit are actually at those old prices. So they are not moving. So that's good news. So yeah, I'm really sorry about that. Over the next coming weeks, I will be starting to send out reminders. I'll start publishing what those new prices will be. So So if you have favourite yarns, or you've got some big, large-scale projects and you want to sort of get yourself stocked up, you will need to make sure that you want to do that before the end of the month. So again, I'll get a newsletter out and let you know what's going on this week and get all those new prices published. But yeah, it's we haven't had a range-wide price increase in the 11 years I've been here, and I think we've only put prices up on yarns twice, for example, in the 11 years. So it is just how things are, I'm afraid. But the good thing is it means if we're having to put ours up, it means the fibre industry is fine, well, especially is a wee bit stronger. So that's us. That's me for today. I will get a note out again. All those links will be in the comments in terms of what the yarns are and where you'll find them. And I will get links out, and I'll pop some pictures up too in a newsletter of those water lilies, so you can have a look at those. But in the meantime, enjoy your stitching, and we'll catch up again next week. Bye.